Okay, so in this video we're going to go ahead and address the accelerator pump circuit of a basic Holley carburetor. Now once you have your base idle parameters set up, you can go ahead and move to this system. The accelerator pump plays the biggest factor in off-idle performance and is most noticeable when it's not set up correct, because your off-idle performance will suffer. And what off-idle performance is basically you're off the line and more hard acceleration situations. So there's not too many components. It's a fairly simple system. You have your pump cam lever adjustment, and your squirt nozzle. And in some cases you can run a bigger diaphragm, but in most cases for the street you're going to be staying with the stock Holley equipment. So how your accelerator pump system works here is you have a pump cam located on your primary throttle shaft, which is connected to your throttle, and this pump cam has a distinct lift and duration characteristic that as you open the throttle, by that lift and duration, it will push on your pump diaphragm through your pump lever and forcibly inject fuel down your venturis through your squirt nozzle here. These Holley carburetors come pretty well set up for your street application right out of the box. They come stock in most cases with a number 31 squirt nozzle and an orange pump cam. And as I said, in most cases that'll work best for your vehicle if you have your accelerator pump system set up correctly. The first item of adjustment on your accelerator pump circuit is your pump cam. Now remember, before we mentioned that your pump cam has a distinct lift and duration characteristic, that as the throttle opens, it will work against this lever arm, which pushes on your accelerator pump diaphragm, and in the end forcibly pushes fuel through your squirt nozzle and down into your engine for those quick off-idle situations. So it's very important. It's maybe the most important piece to tuning your accelerator pump circuit, and often the most neglected. So there's two positions on a pump cam, and generally position 1 adds a little bit of lift and a little bit of duration sooner in your throttle opening. So what that does is it in the end injects more fuel. Now you're going to want this for your 600 to 800 RPM area. Now position 2 delays the fuel delivery a bit and is more for your high RPM idles, where definitely 1000 RPM and above, and more often than not even from 800 RPM and above, you're going to be in this position too. So you're going to want to play with that. There's a little bit of that gray area between 800 and 1000 RPM, but if you go by the basics there, you're going to be in one of those two positions. Now there is assortments of pump cams that you can get through Summit, and I think even O'Reilly's carries them, that have different lift and duration profiles. Most of the time this orange pump cam that comes stock with the Holley carburetor is just fine, but if I've ever had to change them, I only have to go one pump cam above or below this orange cam. So be sure to try this first before you move on from there, but pretty much that sums up your pump cam adjustment. Once you have a good idea of the pump cam position you want, you're going to go ahead and move to your accelerator pump lever and adjust it properly. Now you see here, this one's almost a little loose, where when you open the throttle you would not be getting into the pump diaphragm soon enough. Now that would result in a lean bog, and that's usually what most people have, is when they have a lean situation, your first issue is in this area. Now whenever you adjust your main idle screw or your pump cam position, you're going to need to go back and readjust this lever, because it's going to entirely change the geometry, and that's what most people neglect to do. So really it's pretty simple to adjust. You see here the diaphragm lever has a little bit of play in it, and what I like to do is hold this diaphragm lever down, and then you're going to want to slide a 15 thousandths feeler gauge in here, and then adjust so that's the only clearance you have, and you don't want a ton of play. And that 15 thousandths clearance that you're going to have is so that when you're at full throttle, that you're not maxing out that that diaphragm duration and damaging the diaphragm. So most of the situations when people have a lean bog is from misadjustment of this lever. And remember, whenever you make an adjustment to your throttle shaft position or anything of that nature, you're going to have to go back and readjust this because it will change the geometry of your accelerator pump lever. So the final item of your accelerator pump circuit is your squirt nozzle, and it's located here inside of your choke horn. On these stock carburetors, they're a little bit harder to get to, but they're not too bad. And I want to stress that you don't want to go changing these squirt nozzles until you've gone through and you've tried different pump cam assortments and you have your lever, you know that your lever is adjusted correctly. Your pump cam actively tunes your accelerator pump squirt nozzle duration and profile characteristics. So anyway, if you have to change this, going to a larger number, 35, adds more fuel sooner, and going to say a number 28 from the 31 adds more fuel throughout the duration, less fuel as soon. So it's kind of a misconception that people have that it actually injects more fuel overall, and that's not necessarily the case because your amount of fuel is directly determined by your accelerator pump diaphragm here. So really, you're taking the same amount of fuel and injecting it sooner with a 35 nozzle, and say if you're with a 28 nozzle, you're injecting that fuel over a longer curve. So that pretty much sums up the adjustment of your accelerator pump circuit on your basic Holley carburetor. Oftentimes, any bog-related issues on your off-idle acceleration performance will be caused by a lean condition that can be traced back to misadjustment of your lever arm and your pump cam. Again, as I mentioned in previous videos, I always recommend running an O2 gauge. You see me run this on my Galaxy that I autocross, and it really helps to closely monitor your air-fuel ratio so you can better maximize your performance. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I hope this video helped you to better understand your accelerator pump system of your Holley carburetor.